You're watching Roll for Crit, and we're here to give you our review of Kingdomino Duel. This is the head-to-head, two-player roll-and-write version of the original Kingdomino from Blue-Orange. In the game, you are building a kingdom, you're planning out your territories with different terrain types. Unlike the original, which uses actual domino tiles, this one has you using a piece of paper and a pencil.
Yes, this is a roll and write, which means there's going to be dice and writing. So in this game, you will simply roll the 4 dice. If you were the one rolling, you will choose one of them. Then your opponent will choose 2, leaving the last one for you. In essence, this is your domino. You will then have to try to place this on your board. We actually have 2 filled out sheets here now, but the idea is the same in the original. One of the sides has to match. X's are high dignitaries, and they matter because at the end of the game, the way you score is, in essence, they're the crowns from the old game. You will count up the number of crests that match, touching, then multiply that by the number of high dignitaries there. So in this case, where there's only 1 shield, but 2 high dignitaries, that'd be 2 times 1 for that whole group. And at the end of the game, you'll add them all up. They have a nice little scoring sheet right here, and then get your total.
So in general, you want to try to get the dice that have those X's or crosses on them because they're going to give you more points at the end. But if you do end up with a dice face that does not have any, that's okay. It means that you get to mark off one of the boxes on this sheet according to the symbol it is. So for instance, if you got this one here with 1 dot but no crosses on it, you get to mark one of these boxes. Once you have filled up all 5 on your side of the sheet, it gives you access to a special ability. Now your opponent is going to be trying to do the same thing, and it's first come, first serve. So whoever gets there first, the other one crosses it out, and they no longer can have access to that even if they get enough symbols for it. These are only once per game abilities. You don't have to use them right away, but they'll let you manipulate your dice in various ways. This one allows you to ignore the placement rules so that you can put your things not next to a symbol of the same type. This one lets you actually split them up, so instead of making them like a domino, you could put 2 symbols anywhere on your sheet. This one, if you're first player, lets you take 2 dice instead of just 1, which is a big advantage. This one lets you change a die to a face of your choice. This one lets you cross off something anywhere on one of these that you want. And this right here gives you 3 points for one symbol of your choice that you have the most individual groups of on your sheet. So if you had maybe just a bunch of these single dot symbols, but they weren't giving you too many points, that might be a way for you to get those points.
So pretty much you're going to keep rolling until either A, neither player can place any dominoes, or both players have filled up their sheets. Then you'll calculate the score as I said before, and that's it. That's your Kingdomino.
It's pretty straightforward.
By the way, this is a 2-player game only. Mm-hmm. It's designed specifically like that, though. I guess if you had 2 copies, maybe you could roll a bunch of dice?
Theoretically, I think it's possible. They certainly designed it with 2 in mind. I think part of that for me is I'm bad at keeping track of other people's things, and this is definitely a game where you want to know what your opponent is doing on their sheet, because which dice you take is a critical decision, and maybe there's a die that would help you, but it's better to take one that would help your opponent more.
Well, not only that, one of the things that we mentioned, the spells, because they're first come, first serve, you may be thinking like, ooh, I want to build this because this will give me a lot of points, but if I take this, I'm ahead of you, or I'm going to finish that spell before you can get access to it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because it gives also like the more common symbols that aren't maybe worth as much, potentially a little more power. And so it's not just as straightforward, well, I started with dots, I only want dots, and that's it. It gives you a little more variety in your strategy, which is cool.
Like, let's say you did take, whatever case you had those 2. I'm like, I don't really help these as much, but they help me on the spell book. So it's harder to have a dud usually until someone is cross up the spells, then yeah, they tend to be more duds. But it makes it a little bit better than compared to maybe in the original Kingdomino. Sometimes there's a tile that can no way help you very early on.
Yeah, so the game definitely takes a lot of its DNA from the original Kingdomino, but it does feel very different in practice, I thought at least. What did you think?
In some ways, like you're still making a domino, so to speak here. But one of the things for me was, because it's tiles, you're making these very colorful palettes, you can sort of see it. Because you're writing really just like dot, 2 dot, line, 2 line. It's much more abstract.
Yes, there's definitely not. The Kingdomino already was not the most thematic game, but this is like we're wiping the theme entirely. You are drawing lines, and that is it. Which I think is not too uncommon with roll and writes. You tend to see that in a lot of them, and that did kind of bum me out a little bit. But I will say it surprised me in how much I didn't feel like, oh, I'd rather just play Kingdomino. Maybe partially because it plays plays really quickly.
Well,
easy to
it's
set up.
also designed for two-player too. I think it's one
Good
of the
for
big
two
things.
players.
Like this is a nice small two-player roll and write. You just quickly grab and go.
And we played a bunch of games in a row, and we just, I felt like, oh yeah, I want to try again, because like the best roll and writes do, it makes you want to try and improve your score and really get better at the game.
I will say this is the first time I have won a roll and write.
Oh yeah, this is your one.
This is the one.
So for that reason, it's going to get a really good review from us.
The spell thing is really cool because if you've played Kingdomino, there are times where like, oh, I wish I could split this, and that power alone, like that's the one both of us seem to be like, we want that.
Yeah.
But the other ones are also very good, and just stinks when like I don't think it was this moment. We had a different moment where it turned out like we were both one away, and then it rolled perfectly such that you were just going to get both.
Yeah,
right
I unlocked 2 spells and not locked you out of them right away, so that felt good. This is a really interesting one. I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts if they've played the game, the one where it gives you points for individuals. We found it to be kind of more of a bonus thing if you're trying to catch up, but not really a good strategy to go for from the outset.
Right.
But interesting stuff nonetheless. Crits and misses for Kingdomino Duel. First, crits. Because the game focuses on the 2-player experience, it really rewards you paying careful attention to what your opponent is doing and making interesting decisions as to which dice to take on your turn. The spellbook adds a nice extra layer of strategy to the game. It gives you something to go for so you don't feel as bad if you get a die that you may not necessarily want or need.
Because the dice are not only useful for your own territory, maybe blocking your opponent's territory, or even trying to unlock those spells, it makes it much harder to just have a dud turn. Misses. This game is extremely abstract because really you're just drawing some dots or lines in spots. It can be a little boring maybe at times and doesn't make that nice colorful kingdom like in the original Kingdomino.
As we said, it's a very straightforward game. Definitely takes a lot of the elements you're probably familiar with in other roll and write games with some of the Kingdomino flair. And I think that's what a lot of it comes down to for me is the question is, does this do enough to stand out from a lot of the other roll and writes out there? And while I did enjoy my time with it a lot, quite honestly, and I think it's cheap enough, and if you have another person you like to play 2-player games, this is probably a good buy for you. But in the big scheme of things, it didn't do so much that made me think like this is the roll and write, just because there's so many out there. You know what I mean?
Obviously, because I won this one, this is the best roll and write. But in all seriousness, even though, like I've mentioned this before, even though I usually do actually really terribly, I'm like not like close second in most roll and writes. I still enjoy a lot of them. And in this one, I think, especially like if you mentioned it, if you got 2 people, if it's like you and a friend a lot often, then this definitely is the one you should pick up. It's geared to that. It's made for that.
Yeah.
But comparing it to regular Kingdomino, which I do enjoy a lot, I think I like that a little bit more. Partially, one, we tend to be able to get more than just you and me. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the same people, but we do. I really do think that's just a very colorful game and so fun to make the territories. Though I will say the spell abilities, like I wish that was maybe everyone could do them once, because it's so much fun to be able to just know you have one. Like when you unlock one of those, it's so exciting to be able to split up the dice or choose any symbol you want.
Yeah.
That is where it has a definite leg up over base Kingdomino.
Yeah, so like I said, I think it's cheap. Like I did really enjoy my time with it, and I think if you fall into the category of people that we mentioned, give it a shot. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I had more fun with it than I expected, to be honest, in spite of the lack of theme or anything.
There is one miss we forgot to mention. I know you mentioned when we first started playing this.
Yeah.
These dull really fast.
Oh yeah, it does come with pencils. They got dull quick. Fortunately, all your drawing is dots and lines, so it doesn't feel too bad.
Not really that big. Let us know if you've played this roll and write and how it compares to other roll and write experiences for you, or how it compares to the original Kingdomino. Do you think this shines above or is a little less?
Mm-hmm. And would you like to see maybe some more stuff like expansions for this in the future, like they did for Kingdomino? Maybe that would spice it up a bit. Talk to us in the comments. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
This was a Roll for Crit review.
We want you to like and subscribe, and if you have the chance, take a look at our Patreon.
Stay tuned to our channel for tons more tabletop gaming content. You don't want to miss it.